The planet Terrene 9 was silent except for the soft hum of the wind that moved across the dry red canyons. The air shimmered with dust and every breath tasted like metal. Far above the horizon, a small rescue shuttle descended through the thin atmosphere. Its hull was scratched, its paint faded, but it still moved with purpose. Inside sat a lone human engineer named Rian, focused on a single goal. He was following a weak distress signal that had appeared during his last cargo run. Rian had worked for years on the outer edges of human space, repairing satellites, hauling parts, and helping stranded ships. He was used to being alone. When he saw the signal, he could have ignored it. Many pilots did, because most were traps or old echoes from destroyed ships. But something about the pattern of the signal felt different. It repeated every 12 seconds, steady and precise, almost like a heartbeat. He followed the signal until it led him to a narrow canyon that looked empty from above. When his scanner picked up traces of metal and faint life signs, Rian decided to land. The shuttle touched down with a gentle thud, and the dust rose like smoke around it. He put on his helmet and stepped out into the orange light of the dying sun. The landscape looked endless, filled with cracked stones and the remains of an old crash. Pieces of silver metal were scattered across the sand, and in the center of the wreckage lay a half-buried pod. It was not human-made. The design was smooth and curved, with symbols carved into its surface that glowed faintly in blue. Rian approached carefully. The pod was split open and a soft sound came from inside. When he looked closer, he saw a small figure trapped under a broken panel. It was a child, not human, but still familiar in shape. Its skin was pale silver and its eyes shimmered faintly like crystal. The child was breathing fast, frightened and weak. Rian did not hesitate. He knelt beside the pod and checked the child's pulse through the thin membrane on its wrist. The readings showed the child was alive but injured. The broken panel pinning the child was too heavy to move by hand, so Rian ran back to his shuttle and brought a lifting tool. His suit alarm kept beeping as the air grew thinner. He worked quickly, his heart pounding. The panel finally shifted, freeing the small figure. The child gave a soft sound that Rian could not understand, a mix of pain and confusion. He gently lifted the child into his arms. The alien's skin felt cool against his gloves. Rian could see that the child's breathing was slowing, so he carried it toward the shuttle as fast as he could. Inside, he placed the child on a soft blanket and connected a small oxygen feed. His medical scanner adjusted to read the alien's strange biology, and the results showed the child was stable but weak. Rian sat beside the pod, watching over the small being. He wondered what kind of ship this was, where it came from, and why there was no one else here. He tried sending a distress signal on every open channel, but no answer came. The planet was far from any human base, and he did not even know what kind of species this child belonged to. Still, he stayed. The sun sank lower and the canyon turned dark. The shuttle lights cast a soft glow across the floor where the child slept. Hours passed before Rian noticed movement outside. A bright light swept across the rocks, followed by another. He stood and looked out through the window. 3 small ships were approaching, sleek and silver like the broken pod. Their engines were silent, but the light they gave off filled the air with soft blue color. Rian stepped out carefully, holding his hands up to show he was not a threat. The ships landed in a half-circle around his shuttle. Figures emerged from them, tall and slender, wearing smooth armor that shimmered faintly. Their eyes were bright and calm, and each carried a small device that seemed to scan the air. One of them stepped forward and looked at Rian, then at the open shuttle door where the child lay. The figure raised a hand and a voice spoke through a translator in a clear musical tone. "You found the air?" The voice said. "Step aside, human." Rian did not move immediately. He looked at the child, then back at the figures. "The child was trapped," he said. "I only helped. I mean, no harm." The tall figure paused. The others lowered their weapons. Then a new ship descended, larger and more graceful than the rest. Its hull was covered in flowing symbols that shimmered like water. When it landed, the others bowed their heads. From the ship emerged a woman whose presence seemed to light the air itself. She was taller than the others, her skin like polished silver, and her eyes glowed with a warm blue light. She moved with calm authority, her gaze fixed on the shuttle. When she saw the child lying safe inside, a deep relief crossed her face. She stepped toward Rian, and though her voice was soft, it carried power. "You saved my child," she said. "Who are you?" "My name is Rian," he replied. "I saw your distress signal and followed it." The woman looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she gave a nod. Two of her guards lifted the child carefully, wrapping it in a silver cloth. The woman placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You acted without knowing us," she said, "without promise of reward or safety. Few among your kind would do the same." Ryan said nothing. He was tired, his suit damaged, and his air reserves were low. He only wanted to make sure the child would live. The woman turned to her guards and spoke in her own language. Then she looked back at Ryan. "You will come with us," she said. "You are not safe here. You will be cared for." Before Ryan could answer, his vision blurred. The exhaustion, the thin air, and the effort of the rescue caught up to him. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was the princess's calm face and the soft glow of her eyes. When he awoke, he was no longer in his shuttle. The air was clean and warm, and the ceiling above him shimmered with light. Strange patterns moved across the walls, shifting like water. Around him stood several alien figures dressed in silver robes. One of them stepped aside, and there she was again, the same woman who had spoken to him on the planet. Her eyes met his, and she smiled gently. "I am Princess Leora of the House of Veil Stars," she said. "You saved my child, human. You will not be forgotten." Ryan did not yet understand where he was or what awaited him, but as the princess spoke, he felt that his life had just changed forever. Ryan opened his eyes to a soft, glowing room. The walls shimmered in colors he had never seen before, shifting like sunlight on water. The air was warm and pleasant, unlike the dry and harsh winds of Terrene 9. Strange symbols glowed gently on the walls, moving slowly as if alive. He blinked, unsure if he was awake or dreaming. At the far end of the room, the princess, Leora, was standing beside a floating console. She wore a flowing robe of silver and blue, and her hair seemed to shimmer like moonlight. Her eyes, calm and bright, met his. "You are awake," she said softly. Her voice carried a melody that made Ryan feel calm despite the exhaustion in his body. "I am grateful that you saved my child." Few beings would act without fear or hesitation. Ryan tried to sit up, but his muscles ached. He had carried the child over jagged rocks, lifted heavy panels, and fought against exhaustion. "Where am I?" he asked. "And how is the child?" "You are aboard our vessel," Leora explained. "It is a healing ship of the House of Veil Stars. Your actions have earned you our protection. The child is safe and resting. Their wounds are mending faster than I thought possible." Ryan looked around. Everything seemed smooth, quiet, and strangely alive. The floor beneath him glowed faintly with light, and the walls reflected his image in soft silver hues. He had seen advanced ships before, but nothing like this. "I don't understand," he admitted. "I just did what anyone should do. I didn't expect." This, Leora smiled faintly. "Your people do not often show such courage or compassion, or at least that is what we have been told. Yet here you are. Your heart chose wisely." As she spoke, two other figures entered the room. They were also tall and graceful, dressed in silver uniforms that gleamed softly. They bowed before Leora, then glanced at Ryan. He noticed that even though their faces were different from humans, there was something familiar in their expressions: curiosity, caution, and intelligence. "These are my advisors," Leora said. "They are learning to understand humans through you. If you agree, they wish to study your ways and thoughts, not to harm you, but to know your mind." Ryan paused. He had spent his life exploring distant planets, repairing equipment, and meeting new species. But never had he been placed in a situation like this. Curiosity and trust rose in him. "I will answer your questions," he said. "If it helps your people, I will." For hours, the advisors asked him simple questions about human life. They were fascinated by Earth's oceans, forests, and cities. They were amazed by human problem-solving and our ability to survive in difficult conditions. Ryan, in return, asked questions about their world. Leora explained that their people, the Veil Stars, had long avoided humans, believing them too chaotic and unpredictable. "Your actions today may change that," Leora said, her eyes studying him closely. "We have heard stories of humans as explorers, builders, and warriors. Yet we did not believe a human could act with such quiet courage." Ryan thought about that. He had never considered himself heroic. He had only done what he felt was right. "I just could not leave the child behind," he said. "I would have done the same for any being in danger." Leora's eyes softened. "Then perhaps we have judged your kind too quickly. Courage and compassion are rare yet powerful. I hope to learn more from you, Ryan." Later, she guided him to another chamber. The walls were lined with what looked like gardens, filled with plants that shimmered and floated gently in the air. Strange fruits glowed with soft colors, and the air smelled sweet and fresh. Small creatures, similar to birds but with translucent wings, flew calmly around the room. "This is one of our healing gardens," Leora explained. "It helps restore health and strengthens the mind. You will stay here until you recover fully." Ryan walked slowly, amazed by the plants and creatures. The exhaustion he felt earlier was fading, replaced by awe. "Your world. It's incredible," he said. "I've never seen anything like it," Leora nodded. "Many fear what they do not understand. My people kept distance from humans for that reason, but now perhaps this distance can change. Your courage shows what humans can be." Days passed. Ryan's strength returned as he learned more about Leora's people. He discovered that the Veil Stars valued knowledge, harmony, and empathy. Their ships and cities were designed not only for function, but to inspire peace and understanding. And all of this had been possible because he had saved a small child without thinking of reward. During this time, Rian spent hours talking with the princess. She was curious about human families, friendships, and their sense of loyalty. In return, she shared stories of her people's history, how they had traveled across the stars, exploring new worlds yet avoiding contact with humans for centuries. One evening, as twin moons rose over the horizon of Cirillon, Leora brought Ryan to a balcony overlooking the city. Crystals sparkled like stars in the buildings below, and soft lights moved along the streets. "You have changed how we see humans," she said quietly. "Your actions remind us that courage is not about strength alone, but about choice. You chose to act with kindness and bravery." Rian leaned on the railing, feeling the soft breeze. "I never thought about being a symbol for my people," he admitted. "I just wanted to help a child survive." "That is why your actions are so remarkable," Leora said. "You have no need for recognition, yet your choice echoes farther than you can imagine. You remind us that even small actions can shape worlds." Later that night, Rian could not sleep. The events of the past days, the crash, the rescue, the journey aboard the Veil starship, spun in his mind. He felt a new sense of purpose, a connection to a universe larger than he had ever imagined. He also felt a strange warmth whenever he thought of Leora. It was not fear or confusion, but a sense of trust and understanding. She had recognized the simple courage in him, something rare and precious in her people, and in turn he began to see that there was more to humans than the stories told in space stations and news reports. The next morning, Leora appeared with a small device. It glowed softly in her hand. "This is a communicator," she explained. "It will allow you to speak with me at any time, even if you return to your world. We wish to maintain contact and learn from each other." Rian took the device and nodded. "Thank you. I never expected any of this." "You saved my child," Leora said, her eyes steady and calm. "That is enough to change the course of many things. Soon you will meet others of my people, and together we may see what humans and Veil Stars can accomplish." As Ryan held the device, he realized that his life had already changed forever. The rescue of one small child had opened a door to a world he had never imagined, a door that led to understanding, friendship, and the possibility that humans could shine in ways even the stars themselves might notice. He looked at Leora, standing tall and serene under the light of the twin moons, and knew that this was only the beginning. His journey with the Veil Stars had just begun. Days passed aboard the Veil Star vessel, and Ryan grew stronger each morning. The gardens and soft light of the ship nurtured his body and mind. He had begun to understand the ways of Leora's people, who valued knowledge, empathy, and unity above all. Yet the princess remained distant in one way. While she spoke often about her people and their world, she had not yet revealed the true reason she had brought him aboard. One morning, Leora approached him as he studied the patterns of light that moved across the ceiling of the healing chamber. Her expression was serene, but her eyes carried a quiet intensity. "Ryan," she said, "it is time you understand the reward I promised. Saving my child was no small act. You showed courage, care, and wisdom, and your actions deserve recognition in a way that can help both our peoples." Rian stood, brushing the dust from his uniform. "I do not need reward," he said. "I only did what anyone should have done." Leora smiled, a soft and knowing smile. "That is why your reward is meaningful. It is not wealth or treasure, but a gift that carries responsibility and trust. It is the Heartstone, Rian blinked. The Heartstone? Leora nodded. It is an object of power in my world, but its power is not destructive. It strengthens understanding and empathy. It allows the bearer to feel the emotions of others and to share knowledge across minds. It can unite people and even worlds when used wisely. From a small pedestal, she lifted a crystal that glowed with a soft blue light. It floated gently in her hands, pulsing as if alive. The Heartstone was about the size of a human fist, translucent and smooth. It seemed to shimmer with life itself, casting reflections across the walls. Rian reached out hesitantly. It looks alive, he said. It is, Leora replied. The Heartstone is not an object of control. It bonds only with one who acts with care and courage. That is why it has chosen you. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. He had faced many challenges, but never had he imagined that a small act of kindness could lead to such responsibility. He looked into Leora's eyes, seeing both hope and trust. Are you sure it will not harm me? He asked. Leora shook her head. It will not. It will guide you. It will teach you to feel what others feel and help you understand intentions. With it, you can help build bridges between our worlds, but you must choose carefully to accept it. Rian hesitated for only a moment. He thought about the child on Terene, terrified and trapped. He thought about Leora and her people, who had welcomed him despite centuries of distance from humans. Finally, he nodded. I accept. Leora placed the Heartstone in his hands. It sank into his palms, warm and gentle, and he felt a sudden wave of clarity and calm. The pulsing light seemed to merge with his heartbeat, and he understood, without words, the emotions of those around him, the gratitude, the care, and the hope that Leora's people had for the future. It is bonded, Leora said softly. You now carry the trust of my people and the power to understand them as few can. Use it wisely, Rian. Rian took a deep breath. The power was unlike anything he had experienced. He could feel the subtle rhythms of life in the plants around him, the quiet thoughts of the small creatures that hovered in the garden, and even the soft pulses of emotion from the princess and her advisors. It was overwhelming yet beautiful. Over the next days, Leora guided him in learning how to use the Heartstone. He discovered he could sense when someone was anxious, calm, or thoughtful. He could share simple thoughts and feelings across the bond, and the experience was both exhilarating and humbling. It is not a weapon, Leora reminded him. It is a bridge. It allows understanding, but it does not force it. You cannot control others with it. You can only connect. Rian nodded, practicing with her advisors. He was able to feel their thoughts and intentions, helping to calm tensions and guide conversations. The Heartstone made him more patient, more aware, and more connected to the world around him. One afternoon, as they walked through the floating gardens, Ryan asked, Why give this to me? Why risk sharing such a gift with someone from another world? Leora paused, looking out at the horizon where the twin moons rose over the city. Because sometimes the right person comes from a place we least expect. Your people are young in the universe, but capable of great courage and wisdom. You have shown that even without knowledge of our ways, you can act with honor and care. That is why you were chosen. Ryan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had never thought of himself as special. He had only acted to save a life. Yet here he was, entrusted with a crystal that could shape understanding across worlds. The princess led him to a chamber he had not seen before. It was circular, with walls covered in flowing symbols that seemed to tell stories in colors and light. In the center hovered a smaller crystal, similar to the Heartstone but unbonded. This is part of your training, Leora explained. You will learn to sense the connections between beings to guide them toward peace. The Heartstone responds to your intention, your clarity, and your care. It will test you as well as empower you. Rian reached toward the smaller crystal. As his hands approached it, he felt a subtle pull, like the crystal recognized him. When he touched it, he felt a wave of emotion, not his own but from beings all around him. Some were fearful, others hopeful, some curious. He could sense their thoughts, their desires for understanding and connection. This is what you must carry with you always, Leora said. Empathy is a gift, but it can be overwhelming. You must balance it with patience and wisdom. Ryan nodded. I will do my best. In the following days, he trained with the Heartstone, learning to focus and guide its energy. He discovered that it could calm fear in others, clarify confusion, and even help solve disputes. Leora watched him closely, teaching him subtle lessons of patience, observation, and understanding. One evening, after a long day of training, Ryan stood beside Leora on the balcony again. The city below sparkled like a sea of stars, and the twin moons cast gentle light across the gardens. "You have learned quickly," Leora said. "The Heartstone responds to your actions, not just your intentions. You have chosen wisely, and that will shape the future of our worlds." Ryan looked at the crystal now resting in a small case beside him. It no longer felt alien or strange. It was part of him, a reminder of the child he saved and the trust that had been placed in him. "I never imagined my life would come to this," he said. "From a simple rescue to—" This, Leora smiled. "Sometimes the smallest actions have the largest consequences. You saved my child, and in doing so you have opened a path for friendship, trust, and understanding. That is the true gift." As Ryan watched the moons rise higher in the sky, he felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. The Heartstone was more than a gift. It was a responsibility, a chance to connect worlds and bring hope where it was needed most. He turned to Leora, ready for whatever challenges might come next. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing with certainty. He would not fail those who had trusted him, and he would carry the Heartstone with courage and care. The stars above Cirelon shone brighter that night, reflecting the promise of a new alliance, a bond between humans and the Veil Stars, and the courage of one human who dared to act with kindness. Ryan had been aboard the Veil Star vessel for many weeks. Each day he trained with the Heartstone, learning to sense the feelings and intentions of others. He felt a growing connection not only to Leora but to her people as well. The trust she had placed in him filled him with purpose. One morning, Leora summoned Ryan to a council chamber he had never entered. The room was vast and circular, with walls of shining crystal that reflected light like liquid. Dozens of figures were already gathered, tall and graceful, their expressions serious. They were the advisors, leaders, and elders of the Veil Star Court. Leora greeted him warmly. "Ryan, there are matters in the court that require your attention. Some among my people question the wisdom of our actions, and it is time to face them together." Ryan stepped forward carefully, aware of the tension in the air. He had learned much about the Veil Star people, but even he could feel the subtle undercurrents of doubt and suspicion among the gathered figures. One elder, tall and thin with eyes like molten silver, rose to speak. "Princess Leora," he said, his voice firm. "We honor your decisions, yet this human, he carries a crystal of power and influence. Our people have long avoided humans because of their unpredictability. Are we certain we can trust him?" Ryan felt the wave of caution and skepticism radiating from the council. He focused on the Heartstone, letting it guide him. A gentle warmth spread through his chest, and he reached out with his mind. Not to control, but to connect. He sensed fear, yes, but also curiosity and hope. He allowed the Heartstone to translate those feelings into a quiet understanding. Then he spoke, his voice calm. "I understand your concern. I am not here to take power or replace anyone. I only wish to help, to protect, and to learn. The trust you give me is a responsibility I do not take lightly." The chamber fell silent. The elder studied him, and Ryan felt the subtle pulse of thought ripple through the court. Some were still wary, but many others seemed to relax. Leora watched him closely, her eyes steady and proud. Suddenly the doors to the chamber opened and a group of figures entered quietly. They were younger members of the court, dressed in robes darker than the usual silver and blue. Their expressions were sharp and their eyes glimmered with determination. "These are the Shadows," Leora said softly. "A faction within our people who believe that compassion and alliance with humans weaken us. They do not trust your kind and wish to challenge your presence here." Ryan felt a rush of emotions from the group, suspicion, fear, and even hostility. Yet beneath that he sensed uncertainty and curiosity. The Heartstone guided him to patience and clarity. He stepped forward, addressing them carefully. "I do not seek to harm anyone," he said. "I am here because I saved a life. That life is precious to the princess and she chose to trust me. I ask only for the chance to show that humans can act with courage and care." One of the Shadows, a tall figure with piercing eyes, stepped forward. "Your words are smooth, human," the figure said, "but words are not enough. You carry a crystal that can sway minds and feelings. How can we be certain you will not use it against us?" Ryan lifted the Heartstone slightly, letting it glow softly in his hands. "I do not control thoughts," he said. "I can only understand them and guide them when there is need. I cannot force action or belief. That is not my way. I am only here to help." The group remained tense, but Ryan felt that some among them were listening. Their thoughts were beginning to shift, uncertain but curious. Leora stepped forward, her presence calm yet commanding. "Enough," she said firmly. "You doubt what you cannot understand. Ryan saved my child without expectation or hesitation. He has proven his courage and his care. That is more than words. That is action. You will not let fear blind you to the truth." A silence followed her words. The shadows hesitated, some lowering their heads in respect while others still glared. Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the Heartstone's gentle pulse. He reached out again, not to control but to share calm and trust. Slowly, the tension in the room softened. "Your loyalty is to the princess," Ryan said quietly. "I am not your enemy. I hope that in time you will see that humans can be allies, not threats. My actions are not for myself, but for the safety and future of our worlds." The lead shadow regarded him carefully. Then, after a long pause, the figure nodded slightly. "Perhaps," the shadow said, "we judged too quickly. The princess has chosen her path, and we will watch closely. Time will reveal the truth of your words." Ryan felt relief wash over him. It was not complete trust, but it was a start. He turned to Leora, who gave him a small, proud smile. "You did well," she said softly. "Even among shadows, light can grow. You have begun to change hearts." In the following days, Ryan worked closely with the council. He used the Heartstone to help mediate disagreements and to share understanding among those who doubted him. Slowly, the shadows began to soften, their hostility giving way to cautious respect. One evening, Leora took Ryan aside. "The shadows are only part of the challenge," she said. "There are other forces in the court, hidden intentions and old traditions that resist change. You must be patient and strong. The Heartstone will guide you, but you must choose carefully how to act." Ryan nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Your courage and care have already done more than you know. Remember, even small actions can influence great events. You are part of something larger than yourself." The next day, a sudden alarm echoed through the vessel. Ryan sensed panic and fear among the crew. The shadows were not attacking, but a disagreement had escalated among the advisors. Ryan focused, letting the Heartstone guide him to calm and understanding. He spoke to the council, gently sharing the feelings of each group and showing the common purpose they all shared. Slowly, the tension eased. The advisors began to listen, and the shadows, while still cautious, agreed to cooperate. Ryan realized that the Heartstone was more than a tool. It was a bridge, allowing him to connect and heal divisions that words alone could not. Later, Leora found him in the gardens. She looked out at the twin moons shining over the city. "You see now," she said, "that courage is not only about facing danger, it is about facing fear, doubt, and uncertainty. You have done both, and in doing so, you have earned a place among my people." Ryan looked at the moons, feeling the soft breeze on his face. He thought of the child he had saved, the trust Leora had placed in him, and the responsibility of the Heartstone. He understood that his journey was far from over. Challenges would come, doubts would rise, and shadows would appear. Yet he felt ready, strengthened by his courage, his care, and the bond he had formed with Leora and her people. That night, as the city of Cirillon glowed softly below, Ryan stood on the balcony, holding the Heartstone in his hands. He felt the emotions of the people around him, a gentle pulse of trust, hope, and curiosity. He smiled, knowing that even in the presence of shadows, light could grow. The future was uncertain, but Ryan was no longer just a visitor or a rescuer. He was a bridge between worlds, a symbol of courage and care, and a reminder that one human could make a difference even among the stars. Ryan woke early, the soft light of Cirillon's twin moons still glowing in the sky. The city below was calm, its towers shimmering like crystals under the dawn. He held the Heartstone in his hands and felt its gentle pulse, a quiet reminder of responsibility, trust, and hope. Today, he knew, would be a turning point. Leora had summoned him to the grand hall of the palace, a place he had rarely seen. The floor was polished crystal, reflecting the light in soft colors. Tall columns lined the hall, each etched with flowing symbols that seemed to move and tell stories. Many members of the council were already gathered, including the shadows, their expressions cautious but respectful. The princess entered, her presence commanding but calm. "Today marks a new chapter," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. We honor courage, care, and trust, and we acknowledge that one small act can change the course of many lives. Ryan felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had faced danger, doubt, and suspicion, yet he stood here not as a conqueror but as a bridge between worlds. The Heartstone pulsed softly, guiding him to calm and clarity. Leora raised her hand and a soft glow filled the room. Ryan has shown what it means to act with courage and care, she said. Not for reward, not for recognition, but for the good of others. In saving my child, he has reminded us of what is possible when we act with honor and trust. The council members murmured, some bowing their heads in respect. Even the shadows who had once doubted him stood quietly, their eyes reflecting new understanding. A young advisor stepped forward. Princess, the Heartstone is a powerful tool. We have seen how it can heal misunderstandings and unite us. Will Ryan remain among us to guide these efforts? Leora looked at Ryan, her eyes steady and proud. He will, she said, and through him, our worlds will learn to cooperate, to share knowledge and understanding. I offer him a place among us not as a subject, but as a trusted ally and representative of humanity. Ryan stepped forward, feeling the weight and honor of her words. I accept, he said. I will do my best to honor this trust and help both our peoples understand one another. A soft hum filled the hall, a resonance from the Heartstone. It glowed brightly, responding to the unity of intention in the room. Ryan felt a wave of calm and connection flow through him, linking the minds of those present. He sensed hope, curiosity, and a desire for cooperation. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before, a shared feeling that transcended words. After the ceremony, Leora led Ryan to the balcony overlooking the city. Below, the towers sparkled like stars and the gardens floated gently in the air. Small creatures with translucent wings moved among the plants and the air was filled with soft music from the flowing water and light. You have done more than you realize, Leora said. Your courage and care have reminded us of what is possible. Not all humans would act as you did, but that is why your actions are so meaningful. You have earned the trust of my people and opened a door for understanding between our worlds. Ryan looked at the city, thinking about the child he had saved, the trials he had faced with the shadows, and the bond he had formed with Leora. I never imagined a simple rescue could lead to this, he said. I just wanted to help. That is why it is remarkable, Leora replied. True courage is not in seeking glory or reward. It is in choosing to act when it matters most. You have shown that the human spirit can shine brightly even among the stars. As they spoke, a small figure appeared from the palace garden. The child, now fully healed, ran toward Ryan with laughter in their voice. The child's silver eyes sparkled and they held out tiny hands. Ryan knelt and lifted the child, feeling the warmth of life and trust. You saved me, the child said, their voice musical and bright. Thank you. Ryan smiled, holding the small being gently. I only did what was right. You are safe now, and that is what matters. Leora watched silently, a gentle smile on her face. You see, she said, this is the result of courage and care. One action can ripple far beyond its beginning. You have created hope, not just for this child, but for both our peoples. Over the next days, Ryan began his work as a representative of humanity. He used the Heartstone to help solve disputes, to guide discussions, and to foster understanding between the Veil Stars and humans. Slowly, the once doubtful members of the council, including the shadows, began to respect him. They saw that humans could act with honor, courage, and wisdom. One evening, Leora and Ryan stood together on the balcony, looking at the twin moons rising over the city. The soft wind carried the scents of the floating gardens, and the glow of the towers reflected in their eyes. The Heartstone is more than a gift, Leora said. It is a reminder that trust and care are stronger than fear and suspicion. You have proven that humans can be allies, not just visitors or observers. You have changed the course of our history. Ryan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and doubt. Yet he had also found connection, trust, and hope. I only did what I felt was right, he said. But I will continue to do so, for the sake of both our peoples. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. That is why you were chosen. Not for strength or power, but for the courage to act with care. You remind us that one individual can make a difference even among the stars. Days turned into weeks, and Ryan's influence grew. He trained others in the ways of empathy and understanding. using the Heartstone to guide and teach. He became a bridge between worlds, a living example of what humans could achieve when they acted with courage, care, and wisdom. One quiet night, as the city of Sirelon glimmered under the twin moons, Ryan stood in the gardens with Leora. The child played nearby, laughing and chasing floating lights. Ryan felt the Heartstone pulse gently, a rhythm that connected him to the princess, the child, and the people around him. "You have done well," Leora said. "Your journey was never just about saving a life. It was about showing what humans can be. You have earned a place not only here but in the hearts of our people." Ryan smiled. "I never thought I could make such a difference. I only tried to do what was right." "That is why it matters," Leora said. "Courage and care, even in simple acts, can change worlds. You have proven that humanity is capable of greatness among the stars." As they stood together, watching the moons rise higher, Ryan realized that the true reward was not the Heartstone, the recognition, or even the trust of a princess. It was the knowledge that one human had made a difference, that lives had been saved, and that two worlds could now learn, grow, and thrive together. In that quiet moment, under the glow of Sirelon's twin moons, Ryan understood that the promise of the stars was not in power or conquest, but in courage, care, and the choice to act for the good of others. He had saved a child, earned the trust of a people, and discovered that humanity's light could shine across the galaxy. And with that realization, he knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would span worlds, unite hearts, and prove that even one human could make a difference beyond the stars.